Hey, what's going on, guys? Marty6 here, and today we're going to be ranking each graphic novel from worst to the best. Now, before we get started, this is obviously my opinion. If you don't agree, that's fine. We're also going to get some pretty channel updates coming at the end, so let's get started. In last place is the Forces storyline, or the God Complex storyline. This is obviously going to be in last place. To me, the storyline had so much wasted potential. It really just came down to the fact that the reveal of the Forces should have been around the same episode, like if like 4 or 5 at the very least. And it didn't help that um that I think from the visual perspective, Psyche should have been the main villain. To me, Psyche would have been a really interesting villain. Um, it would have made more sense. But I feel like this storyline should have included what season 3, what season 3 had. Like in the back half, they're exploring more about the Speed Force. Maybe this season we should have had the origins of the Speed Force, how it was created, like how in the comics it was more from a war between all the forces. Maybe you can add the Reverse Flash in there. Like I think this storyline should have had the Reverse Flash, because it made more sense. It kind of felt it makes more sense. Like I think, I also think Godspeed should have also been in this Forces storyline. Obviously, remove the bad dialogue. Remove that. Make Barry more concerned about others in this graphic novel. Like, yes, I understand that he's very concerned for whenever there's a new threat, but in this graphic novel, it didn't feel like he wasn't, like, didn't feel like he was concerned about others. He was just concerned about the Forces or his own family. And while I do understand that, it kind of made Barry feel more unlikable and more Tom Holland's Spider-Man, where, he's just straight up emotionally abusive towards everybody. Ooh, that's another rant for another day. I could literally go on video why Tom Holland's Spider-Man is easily the worst, but that's Marvel, not DC. Um, Yeah, so overall, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. Definitely not the best, but it has a lot of problems. But for me, it was the most wasted potential. Coming in number 4 is Godspeed Civil War, or Godspeed Imperative. I don't know which one you call it. Most people say Godspeed Imperative, even though I think Godspeed Civil War is a much better name, fits more with Flash. Let's be honest now, Civil War, Flash, Godspeed, all that stuff, yeah, it makes more sense for Flash, etc. To me, this one, if it was like 6 or even 15 episodes, I would be fine with it. But 4 episodes is not enough for a storyline. Like, look at my show. Yes, there are some episodes where it's like 15 or 20 at best. Like, some of the graphic novels are at that level. And I think that's something that the Flash writers have kind of had to start doing, is kind of expanding the season. I've been thinking of doing a video where I kind of explain why the graphic novel structure has not been working out. I tried doing it with me, like, visually showing you guys how, but it turned out really bad. What I mean by turning out, it was really bad. It could even give. So I had to delete the recording because I didn't want to get anybody like physically sick or physically ill. Yeah, so. And to me, the Godspeed storyline should have been like maybe 10 episodes at best. It would have made more sense. Actually make the Godspeed plan make more sense. The Godspeed storyline was fine. It's just that the storyline just did not make sense for me. I think the problem with that storyline was just the motivation and just how the plan was executed. I like the idea of Bart and Nora coming back, coming to the present to stop Godspeed, but I think that's kind of where the problems lie, to me, for me at least. To me, Godspeed should have been more of a character that would have been like a threat. And to me, I think the problem was obviously the main issue at Godspeed was clearly the voice. As I said in my previous video, where I gave that example where it doesn't, like when I said, like remember when I said infinite velocity, and then I said everybody? Yeah. And maybe this storyline would have actually been better. And like I said earlier, it would have been better for the Forces storyline, kind of giving you speedster villains and kind of explaining how speedsters can create constructs. I think that's why season 7 was kind of disappointing, was how they didn't left answers. They left us with many questions and answers, whereas like you have like speedsters, say lightsabers or speed sabers. How can they create that? I think that would have been a better story, interesting plot for the Forces. And again, I think that they should have used Godspeed in the Forces. I think that would have been a lot better without the cringy dialogue. Coming in number 3, and this is a controversial one, but I had to go with Armageddon. Armageddon was such a waste. If this was episode 1 and 2, it would have been in the top, on par with the Blood Work arc. But now after, it's easily here. To me, the problem with the storyline is that they just constantly use Reverse Flash. And Reverse Flash is arguably the main reason why this season has been kind of not working for me lately. Reverse Flash, I think at this point, I know in my previous video I called him Rhino Flash, and that was just as a joke. This one, I'm going to call him Reverse Flash. To me, the problem with the Reverse Flash lately is that he's just overshadowing everybody. The writers just want him to overshadow more villains than at least develop some of the other villains. This, I think, is beginning to become an issue with the Flash. Yes, I know, we all know, Reverse Flash was a great villain. Only problem is, you kind of have to at some point stop using him, or don't use him in the slightest, or just mention him, or make him look like, or make a cameo. Not only would that's the thing. If you make him a cameo, some of these problems aren't gonna be as huge. If like Dawn just made a cameo in every episode in Armageddon, I'd be okay. There's Dawn not doing anything, but just making a quick cameo. Okay, that's fine with me. I'd be fine with it. But now it's starting to become a problem where the writers just insist on using Reverse Flash. Yes, Dawn was a great villain at one point in season 1, but over time he became kind of one of the more annoying supervillains. So I have to rank Armageddon, and he's honestly the main reason why Armageddon's not my top 2. I haven't even brought some of the other stuff, really, like Cecile having way too much screen time. I thought Thea in season 1 had way too much screen time. Cecile had even more screen time. That's the problem. Like, I want Cecile how she was in season 4 through 5. And in those seasons, she's like in the background. Barry notices her and has a chat with her every once in a while. All that stuff. I miss that Cecile when, during season 4 and 5. Whereas Cecile now is just too much screen time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Cecile as a character, but I like when she was in season 4 or 5, where she's just in the background. I miss that Cecile. That's the Cecile I miss. Coming in my number 2 is the Mirrorverse storyline, or Mirrors and Lives. To me, this storyline is underrated. If it was season 7, not as much. I know a lot of people did not like the Mirrorverse episodes of season 7, and I will admit those episodes were disappointing, and especially all of them were disappointing. It really, episode 2 was arguably the worst of that. To me, the storyline worked really well with the Bloodwork storyline as well. Really showing you the impact Christ has made. And I actually like that they used Mirror Master because in the comics, for those who don't know, Sam Scudder, aka Mirror Master, actually has a big role in Crisis where he actually dies in Crisis. Yes, he actually dies. And eventually this leads into Evan McCulloch in the comics taking over as Mirror Master. And so the fact that they actually made a Mirror Master story after Crisis would work really well. Actually works pretty well for me. If they did like Captain Cold after Crisis, that would not work for anybody. That would certainly not work for me. You get some really interesting mysteries in this graphic novel, like Godspeed and Pied Piper. You see the changes of Crisis, and that's something I really like. Yeah, so let's go on to my number one. And finally, my number one is Bloodwork. So there's no reason, there's no way I did not have to say my Bloodwork there. That's how you put in words. Jesus Christ. Anyways, let's get on. Okay. What I really like about the Bloodwork arc was how it made Barry and the villain more. It's how. I don't know how to put this in words, but how they made Bloodwork more as a hero, like Cicada, essentially. Not saying he was a completely good guy for Bloodwork. He was more evil than hero, but he wasn't like one of the pure evil guys who didn't have a motivation. Unlike one villain out there, I'm looking at you, Hunter Zolomon, or Zoom. I'm looking at you. Anyways, Bloodwork actually felt intimidating, unlike the guy I just mentioned, Zoom. To me, Bloodwork was more intimidating as, he could actually control people's bloods or, turn them into monsters. Or all of that. It made him actually look terrifying. Unlike Hunter Zolomon, where, he just stands around doing nothing, looking intimidating. It's like, bro, is that all you're gonna do? That's all you're gonna do? Just stand around looking so intimidating. And that's the problem with Zoom, which I probably would get to why I'm not a big fan of Zoom, why I really hate Zoom, or why Zoom's the worst villain on The Flash, is that one of the problems is that he doesn't look nearly as intimidating as he's meant to be. Like, seriously, you can just watch him and you're like, you just laugh at him because of how not scary he is. To me, I'd say Prometheus was scarier. Even Damien Dark was scarier than Zoom. Anyways, let's get back on track. Bloodwork was a pretty terrifying villain where, he can even get inside people's minds, which in my opinion, if his blood can take over people's minds, that makes him pretty terrifying because, he can just drop one blood and, when it's clean on, like, say the floor, and, you're cleaning, but one part of it you don't know is not actually human blood, but metahuman blood, and it's crawling onto you and you don't notice, and then it gets stuck into you, and then you eventually become a blood monster. That's really scary, pretty terrifying, and that's one of the reasons season 6 is the best season for me, at least. Not to mention, you had some great writing, great CGI, great fight scenes, and great acting, great directing. And so if you want a story that's great, check out the Bloodwork arc. But anyways, I said I was going to do some channel updates, and that's what we're going to do. So, I know in 2021, there was even times where I didn't upload for months. That's why I want this year for me to be a lot more consistent. This is something Paige says in his Q&A videos, or early Q&A videos, where he says, where it's like, where he says stuff like what was it? Tips for starting a YouTube channel, and one thing he did mention is, well, being consistent. Like, when you're gonna upload. Are you gonna upload every day? Or once a day? Or like, if I say I'm gonna upload like every Wednesday, and I do that, maybe one time I say I probably won't. So I kind of want to upload more every day. Maybe occasionally I won't, like most people, obviously. But I want to be a lot more consistent. I don't want to take like a few days of a break. I want to be a lot more consistent, which would definitely help. Not saying I would be so consistent, but I want to be a lot more consistent than I was last year. Also, because my winter break was now coming to an end today, I now have to deal with school, so expect me to now not post nearly as much. But I hope that those times I will kind of still upload. Again, I try to upload. I'm gonna have to upload either really early or in the afternoon. But anyways, that's my video, or my ranking, I should say, and my also channel update. Would be your ranking in other graphic novels? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, I'll see y'all next time.